Okay, everybody. So this is I want to do a quick introduction for our final portfolio, explain what this means, what it is, what the requirements are going to be for it. All right. So first off, it's probably worth reminding you that there's not going to be a final exam for this class, and that this final portfolio will take the place of that final exam. So what we're going to have you do is revise one of your papers and then write a self-analytical letter. And so we're going to go a little bit into detail about both of these and what kind of shape that might take or what that might look like. All right, so the final portfolio requirement is you have to revise one of your papers from this course. It's your choice. Doesn't really matter to me which one you do. We'll talk specifically about that in a second. Oh, and then the self-analytical letter, about 500-word narrative that's going to be based off of some prompts that you're given. And then you're going to upload those into, there's an assignment in Canvas that's just says final portfolio. It's under there's like a plugin or an API. I don't know computer stuff, but I know that it's kind of connected to this program called Portfolium. And so what's going to happen is you're going to turn this in. There's going to be two things that are going to happen with the documents from your portfolio. I'm going to grade them, and then they're also going to get put into like this pool. And what happens is every over the summer or over the course of the next year or so, there's going to be a group of people from the English department who are going to take a sampling of all the student writing from English 1100 and 2201, and they're going to review it just to see if you guys are learning what needs to be learned, and how we're doing as instructors. It's just a little bit of kind of setting some expectations for what needs to be reinforced with our English 1100 and 2201 courses here. All right, so for the final portfolio, there's one other thing you have to upload the assignment sheet for the assignment that you are going to be revising, and so that's just like that assignment that I gave you. It's just kind of because what they want is this review committee wants to see what prompt you were given, what the assignment was, and then how you responded to it. So there are actually three documents that you have to turn in. All right, so for the final portfolio, for this revised project, I think it's important to think about what revision means. And if you're going to read the written portion of this in Canvas, I wrote kind of an explanation of what this whole thing is. One of the things that you're going to see there is that we're going to break down the idea of revision and what that means. So if we break that word apart, re means, of course, to do something again, and then vision comes from viz. Viz means to see, so all the viz-related words means to see. So really what we're trying to do is get you to see the writing that you did again in a different way, right? And to show it to your audience in a different way. So it's kind of two things. You're looking at it differently, and we're going to present it differently. So you're going to choose one of your papers, and you're going to have a significant revision to it. So what I mean by significant revision is you're going to have to rethink the way that the information is being presented. So that might mean changing it from first person I to third person he, she, or they. So you're going to see it from somebody else's perspective. It might mean a time shift, so you might be writing where you wrote your paper in the past. You might want to do it into the present tense or the future tense, and then or just some other ways we can think about that. But most important is I want you to rethink the way that you are presenting this information. I've got some specific examples for the three different papers here. What this isn't is just changing happy to glad, right? This isn't just going through and changing I to you or something like that. That's not enough. And if I see that, because I'm gonna see like your project threes, I have a pretty good memory for what I've what I've read and graded. I'll have a pretty good sense of how much of a revision you've done. It's usually pretty evident in student writing when you just go and change happy to glad and try to basically just screw off and wait till the last minute and not turn in significant revisions. I'm usually pretty good gauge of how that works. And because this is taking the place of a final exam, expect that if you're going to do shoddy work or you're not going to really take this seriously, your grade is going to reflect that. I'm not trying to be a jerk. That's just the way it is. Same thing with the letter. If you're not going to take the letter seriously, if you're not going to format it as a business letter, you're not going to take the steps to make your writing professional, I'm going to that'll be reflected in your grade as well. So take this seriously. Take this as seriously as you would a final exam. These two bits of writing that you're going to do for the final portfolio constitute 20% of your overall grade. So 20% is a lot. So take that seriously. All right. So when we start thinking about the revision ideas, so when we look at like project 1, which was the writing to reflect, when I asked you guys to think about empathy in your life, so how might we re-see this paper? Because this is a first-hand, usually it's going to be a first-person account of your personal experiences. So how might you go about rewriting that or re-seeing that information? And so one of those might be, why don't you write a letter to a younger self, to say what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned about empathy, and how maybe what you've learned now might be helpful to a younger version of you to maybe to start to think a little bit more empathetically, and to skip over some of the missteps that maybe have happened in your life, or to help other people in your life who might need some help, right? You might change that time perspective, that temporal perspective, and rewrite this from the past, looking into the future, or write it from the future, looking, way into the future, looking into the past, and, how might things change between now and when you're 80 years old or something like that? I don't know. And then you could also change the voicing of this, right, to second or third person. You could do it from a third person, like maybe, your parent or grandparent or friend or somebody who's looking at you and the actions that you're taking. The important thing to remember, though, when you switch from third person, we switch from first person to third person, is that you have to remember that the other person doesn't have your insights. They haven't watched the movie of me that's going on in your head either. So there's going to be some things that they're not going to necessarily know about you that just from being yourself and living your life and having your thoughts. So you have to really think about that. Like, what won't somebody who's not you know, right? Like, it could be your best friend, it could be a twin brother or sister, but there's still going to be things that they're not going to know about you, right? So you need to think when you're doing this revision, what is it that they don't know, or what is it that is unique and special to you? Yeah, so that's that reflecting paper. On this rhetorical analysis paper, if you choose that one, the easiest thing is, if it wasn't up to speed, if it wasn't where you wanted it to be, like maybe you didn't meet maybe you only wrote half of the word count, or maybe you had like no in-text citations and no works cited or references list or something like that. If you want to redo it and get it up to speed and get it to where it needs to be, then that might be something that you can do. However, again, this isn't going to be just happy to glad changes. I mean, I need to know that there was a significant change in the way that you did the work. And I'll generally will have a pretty good sense of whether or not that has happened or not. You could write this from, this kind of analytical paper to something that's a little more persuasive, to say why this piece of, you're trying to get people to buy into why you think it's an important piece of work, or to try to get somebody to read it or experience it the way that you did. Maybe a letter to an editor, if it's a piece of music, to like maybe Rolling Stone magazine or something like that. I don't know. You can write to the composer of the text to give them some feedback. Why not? I mean, that's not hard either. It might be a little bit tricky, but you could do it. I don't know. I mean, be creative, be thoughtful. If it's persuasive, if you're trying to show that prove one side, because you should have done this. If you're trying to prove one side of an argument, or the thesis, or that the thesis is wrong, why don't you take the other side and disprove that it didn't work, or something like that. And then this is another idea I've got down at the bottom of this list here. How might somebody in the future perceive this? Is this an important enough piece of work? Is this important enough text that it's going to be emblematic of the idea and the thought processes that are happening in 2020, 2021, or 2000, whatever, whenever this piece of text, whenever this piece of artwork, even back in the 60s or 70s, I guess, for some of you guys. How emblematic, how much of a signpost is this for the culture at the time? Is it just kind of a flash in the pan, or didn't even really matter? So that might be an interesting way to approach it. When we get to Project 3, the one that should be you'll be wrapped up with before this is done, and are probably going to be the freshest in your mind, is the persuasive paper. And so, like with the second paper, if it's just not up to speed, and I'm giving you some feedback, or maybe you're not comfortable with the way it turned out, if you want to rewrite it, that might be helpful. You could turn this into a speech. Persuasive papers make really easy speeches, but again, what you need to do is think about the language that you're using when you do that, right? So it's not just a simple, you're not just going to say dear audience or whatever and just write the whole same paper, because when you have in-text citations, you're going to be speaking it, right, in a speech. So you're not going to be able to just leave that in-text citation the way it is. You have to explain it through you have to explain the way that information is being presented differently. You have to give a little bit more of an explanation of the information, and not, you have to understand that it's not going to be read, it has to be heard, and so you have to give that explanation of the evidence that you're providing your audience. Letter to the editor, kind of the same kind of a thing. How might this is a persuasive piece, how might this have worked as a persuasive piece 50 years ago? Would the audience have understood it differently? Would a different audience that you've chosen respond to the same kind of persuasive message differently? What about in the future? Or is this going to be is the persuasive, if you're talking about we need to clean the plastics out of the ocean now, is this something that is going to be understood in 50 or 100 years to have been a problem, or will it have already been cleaned up? So you could kind of do some kind of retrospective and think back to how the information is being presented now. How will we perceive that at some point in the future? I don't know. Think about that. And then you can always just take the opposing view, right? So just take, if you're voting for, or if you're advocating for animal testing, maybe take the opposing view and advocate against animal testing or something like that. I don't know. So take that opposing view. Anyway, it's not hard work. But it's going to take some effort and some thought. The most important thing is the thought. Again, the self-analytical letter is pretty self-explanatory. There are going to be 4 questions that you're going to be asked, and then it's going to be your opportunity to talk about what you've learned over over your time in this course. What you've taken away from it, how you think it's going to help your writing. The 4 prompts are pretty easy. The one thing I will say, though, is that if you don't have experience writing kind of business letters or more professional letters, then it's going to be incumbent upon you to go and do the research about how to do that formatting. You should have already learned that, and if you don't know how to do that, then that's going to be kind of your responsibility. Remember that you're not writing this self-analytical letter necessarily to me. This is going to be written towards or for this committee of people who are going to be reviewing these papers at some point in the future. So, however you want to do it, final portfolio reviewer, committee member, or something like that. Just keep that in mind, that you're going to be addressing a group of people that you don't know. All right, so if you guys have any questions about this, of course, you know where I am. Be glad to help with ideas. There will be one final kind of class participation assignment activity. I'd want you to tell me what you think you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then I will give you feedback. It'll either be good to go, or I'll maybe steer you in a slightly different direction, just to make sure that you're doing what you need, getting on the right path so you're going to be successful with this revision. All right, good luck. Look forward to reading it.